As we continue, each candidate will have 5 minutes to speak. We have a timekeeper that they're aware of here that'll give them a heads up when their time is quickly approaching to an end. First, we have, in the order of districts, Stephanie Chang, who's a candidate for the 6th district. Stephanie?
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing today? Was the lunch great? Awesome. Well, thank you so much to the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber for the invitation to be here with you today. Again, my name is Stephanie Chang, and I'm the Democratic nominee for State Representative in House District 6. So District 6 is actually the majority of it in Detroit, but the downriver communities that are in the district are River Rouge and Ecorse. And so I'm very excited to have been very successful in the primary and moving onward to the November election. So just so you know a little bit about my background, I'm a daughter of immigrants who came to this country about 40 years ago looking for a better opportunity. They came to Michigan when my dad found a job in the auto industry, which is a similar story to many immigrants who have come to this country. I actually have been working as a community organizer in Detroit for about a decade now, working on a number of issues important to me and to my community, whether it be affirmative action, reforming our justice system, voting rights issues, and I actually also helped start up a community-based elementary school last year. So that's my background. It's really in organizing and working in the community. I'm very, very excited about this opportunity to serve District 6, which is an incredible and very diverse district which runs along the river and includes many, many neighborhoods that have a lot of amazing strengths, but also a lot of needs. I've door-knocked the entire district twice before the primary in terms of primary voters, and a lot of residents talk to me about the safety issues that they are very concerned about, the blight issues in certain neighborhoods in Rouge and Ecorse, and of course in Detroit as well. And also a number of people were very concerned about making sure that I'm supporting small businesses in their district, or in their two downriver communities that are part of District 6. One of the big things that's impacting businesses in Rouge and Ecorse, and actually also in Detroit, is the fact that the Jefferson Bridge is down right now. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that, and so that's been a challenge for a number of the businesses in my district. And so I'm hoping to be a good partner with whoever takes office as our Wayne County executive to address that issue. But the things that I'm really hoping to work on that are aligning with my background as an organizer are education, safety, and making sure that we have a fair justice system, as well as just restoring our social safety net, making sure that we're reversing some of the cuts to basic safety net, whether it be the earned income tax credit or other things like that. So I'm excited to get to work up in Lansing starting January, assuming all goes well in November. It is a predominantly Democratic district. It's about a 93% Democratic district. But I'm excited to be a good partner to small businesses in my district, and of course to the residents who I'm very, very excited to serve. So again, my name is Stephanie Chang. I look forward to being a good partner, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now, Erica Geis, candidate for District 12.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you to the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber for having me here, inviting me to our other candidates as well. I'm glad to be up here with you. I'm Erica Geis, and I'm running for state representative for Michigan's 12th House District. I'm the Democratic nominee. And the 12th House District includes Olive Taylor, Olive Romulus, and precincts 4 and 5 of Van Buren Township. So the two northeasternmost precincts of Van Buren. And this is just an amazing opportunity to be here with all of you, with members of our downriver business community. with students. I see students from SWCRC, I see students from, saw some other students walk in. Of course, I noticed when you all came in, because I am an educator, that's what my background is in. And in fact, I'm also an adjunct at Wayne County Community College District. My background's also in the nonprofit sector, and I'm a small business owner. I run a small editing business that I've run since about 2001. I have some of the same priorities as Stephanie, in fact. Education is one of my primary issues that I hope to work on in Lansing. And it's because education, along with the other two priorities for me, jobs in our economy and healthy communities and healthy families as a broader topic, are very interconnected. And I believe that these three broad categories are so intertwined that none of them is more important than the other. Without good education, without strong public school systems, ones that are competitive with other schools across our nation, but also where we have equity and access to materials for all students in our districts, that is critical in order to have students be ready for jobs and for post-secondary higher ed when they graduate. Of course, when we have good jobs, when we have a strong economy, people want to stay here. People want to build in our communities. People want to bring their families here. They want to raise their families here. My husband and I chose to stay here in Michigan. We could have gone anywhere. We chose to raise our children here. We sent our children to the same school, in fact, that he went to for elementary school. So we are committed to our community. And one of the things that got me involved in deciding to run was the dissolution of the Easter School District and the Buena Vista School District, and the impact that it had on our communities. Not just for Inkster itself losing its school district, but for the impact that it had on the 4 neighboring communities that accepted the students. So when the legislature makes decisions, they affect not just one group that it might be that the decisions that they're making might affect, but it affects a much broader picture. And for me, crafting legislation and crafting policy is about looking at the community effect and looking at the aspects that are about building our communities and helping our communities thrive. And I hope that if everything goes well in the next 43 days, that when I'm in Lansing serving our communities, not just of District 12, but of all of Michigan, that I will be able to bring that sense of focus on the community and making our communities healthy and thriving as well. So, thank you.
Also addressing District 12, Kelly Thompson. Kelly?
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Kelly Thompson, and I'm the Republican nominee for the 12th District. Special thank you to the Chamber for having all of us here. This is wonderful. And special thank you to Kennedy High School guys over there for coming and seeing us. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was in banking for about 7 years through the mortgage boom and then into the mortgage crisis. I left there to attend law school. I've been an attorney in the state of Michigan for the last 2 years. Somewhere in the middle, I went and got a master's degree in history, and now I teach at Wayne County Community College for the last 5 years. And I love every minute of it. But I also see the kids that are coming in out of K-12 who have difficulties starting in college. And I've worked in the last year at Woodhaven High School and also seen the difficulties that they have in the high school level with basic education. And like the lovely ladies before me, education, K-12, in this state is severely declining, and we need to really do something about it. And unfortunately, within the legislature, we all need to work together to do so, and I hope that that's something that I can do when I get to the legislature. I see students in my class, students in the high school who still have trouble reading, even in the high school level, who are unable to do basic things, especially basic math. I have asked a group of 10th grade students what 3 times 5 was, and they all need to get up and get a calculator. And to me, that is just really, really sad. I can't even imagine when I was in 10th grade if I had asked to get a calculator to do 3 times 5. So I'm not sure what's happened in our K-12 education, but we need to take a serious look at it, and we really need to redo things. And that's definitely one of the things I want to work on. Also, having been in banking, a lot of the small businesses that I dealt with doing small business loans, I've seen some of them decline over the last few years. I've seen a lot of businesses in Taylor and Romulus, small businesses disappear. And we need to do something to help that not happen anymore, because small businesses build this community, they grow the community, where people go to shop, have jobs, and as Ms. Guy said, people are going to stay in the community if there's something to stay for. And we need to make sure that our small businesses are those things that they can stay for. And also my love of history gets me into just loving this country, being a proud American, being a proud citizen of Michigan, and wanting us to have the best that we can have for our state and for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Paul Clementi, District 14. Paul?
Thank you. I guess one thing in dealing with Kelly's speech, if I went and asked for a calculator when I was in grade school, the teacher wouldn't have known what I was talking about. So I guess that maybe dates me a little bit. The other thing is, it's funny how we set us up. It reminds me so much of my 8th grade dances. All the girls on one side, all the guys on the other side. So, I guess I'm very comfortable in that back in my grade school days. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me today, the Southern Wayne Regional Chamber. I am Paul Clementi. I guess the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to paraphrase a statement, a quote that was done by Teddy Roosevelt, who says, "It's not the pundit who counts. It's not the one who points out how leaders have stumbled, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the one who is actually in the arena." On that note, I'd like to salute everybody who's at these tables. They've decided to replace their backyard barbecue picnic opinions with votes. So that might not seem like a big difference, but it makes all the difference in the world when you have to place your opinion down and vote on those opinions. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to wish all of them good luck and good hunting in this election season. So I stand in front of you today as the rarest of species, endorsed by both the Michigan Chamber of Commerce and the United Auto Workers, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and the Michigan Manufacturers Association, the Service Employees International Union, and the Michigan Restaurant Association. I've always considered myself a moderate, a centrist, and a consensus builder. Kind of a very difficult position to be at, where compromise currently makes you either into a dino or a rhino. So I guess what I'd like to do is spend a few minutes talking about what this politician has seen in his 4 years of politics. First of all, have no doubt that every constituent that has come to me or comes to any of these politicians believes that their position is in the center, no matter what the position is, and all should migrate towards that position. So when I first arrived in Lansing, I believed that a lot of these issues associated with not compromising were really issues in Washington and Lansing. They didn't really represent what happened on the day-to-day. And the distant voices on the left and right really gained disproportionate weight in these areas. Now I've come to believe that actually government really does represent what happens in America on a day-to-day basis. We've come to a point where we stratify ourselves into groups that only have opinions that we agree with. We lack the maturity to say, gee, maybe my position might only be half right, but also maybe their position might also be half right. Our government is a reflection of us. It's fragmented, and it's suspicious of the serious business we do in government. In so many ways, we want our government to run like a business. Unfortunately, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is 100 years old. Only one company is still in business in that 100 years. Do we want our model of government to have a 3 in 100 chance of survival for 100 years? Or do we want it to last for millennia? Do we want it to be the McMansion down the street that's breaking down after 20 years? Or do we want it to be the Parthenon? Do we want it to be the Colosseum? Do we want it to be the Great Wall of China? A government that's built to last. I have the good fortune of meeting with a lot of different people. And one particularly comes to mind. I met with a politician from Texas. And this person was very confident and opinionated, so he chose to engage me about the union movement. And how it's driven so many of the ills of society to collectively bargain. He spoke how unions were illegal in Texas, and how there's no business that has a union that's ever performed well. So I let him talk, and I asked, could poor management have anything to do with this? And he said, it might in some cases, but generally it's a union that hamstrings management. So I thought about that for a minute, and I said, well, I asked what he thought of Southwest Airlines. And he said, this is the model of how a company should be. I agreed, and noted that Southwest is the most heavily unionized of the major airlines. He was incredulous. It couldn't be. So I suggested he get on his smartphone and confirm it. He looked, he collected his jaw from the floor, and to his credit, he said he'll have to review his premise. That, in my mind, was a true sign of maturity and thoughtfulness that, in general discourse is so rare. I see my time is coming up. So how do we change this? Have no doubt this won't happen in Washington or Lansing. It starts with a person looking back at you in the mirror. Try to step into the other person's shoes and see it from their side. This is when we're at our best as citizens and as a country. Thanks for your time and have a great day.
Now we'll hear from Charles Lendo, also District 17.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charlie Lando. I'm a candidate in the Michigan's 17th District. Just a little bit about my background. How many Hoopers? One? Two. I grew up in the UP in a small district, western end of the UP. And when we talk about education, one of the things that is first and foremost in my mind is that we got to keep our kids straight as well. We got to try to make a place for them, make jobs for them, keep them grounded where they grew up. Just about every one of my classmates when they graduated from high school are gone from their hometown. They're spread all over the country. But I grew up in the UP and I attended Northern Michigan University where I got a bachelor's degree in accounting. I then moved down to Lower Michigan, went to Central Michigan and got a master's degree in public administration. My background has been totally in county government my entire career. I started out as a state auditor in my first position. I then moved into county administration, both in Ogilvie County, Midland County, and then I moved on to Monroe County. My strengths are in finance. there's no question that I have a very strong financial background. I've had to spend my entire career balancing budgets with both Democrats and Republican board members. So we had to make compromises, we had to make decisions, we had to work with both groups to make sure that the services we were providing to our residents was fair and equitable to everybody. There's three main issues in this election. Everybody knows what they are. It seems to be every election, these three issues appear. There are roads, nobody mentioned roads yet. Education and jobs. Of course, education and jobs are kind of intertwined together. Without any education, you're not going to get a good job, and without people working and supporting their local school districts and their local economy, there's not going to be a good education program. So I'm a strong supporter of good jobs and good education and ways that we can try to improve that. Getting back to the roads just briefly, there's a lot of discussion and the legislature is currently working on some other taxing issues. Well, I don't support any tax increases for roads. I think, and I might be a little bit naive, I'm sure somebody will point this out to me eventually, because we've got a couple of 2-3 representatives here that will straighten me out on this issue if they have to. But I believe there's enough room in our budget to not only eliminate some of the not so needy programs and put it into programs that are important, like education and road funding. Ironically about the road funding is that if we put enough dollars into repairing and maintaining our infrastructure, that will create jobs. It will create jobs in the private sector for people who do this for a living. So my goal, I know this sounds a little naive, but my goal with the financial background that I have is to be on the House Appropriations Committee and work on those budgets to find dollars within the budget to put into these programs that are important, like education, roads, and job creation. So with that, I'm going to hear my representatives maybe take that issue on, but that's what I believe in, that's what I'm going to support, and that's what I'm going to do when you elect me to the Michigan 17th District House seat. Thank you.
Also addressing the District 17 is Bill Lavoie.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for allowing me to speak here, as well as the sponsors. I don't know that anybody's mentioned the sponsors either, but without sponsors, I don't know that this would even be possible. So my name is Bill Lavoie. I'm the current state representative for House District 17. I remember doing this 2 years ago. It was a great opportunity, and I look forward to staying around afterwards also to answer any questions. A little bit about the 17th District. Most of it, about 75% of it is in Monroe County, and about 25% of it is in Wayne County. So I generally say that I represent the least amount of people in Wayne County of any state rep. I don't know whether that's good or bad, but the current district is, it was a new district when I was first elected, and it is basically the northeastern part of Monroe County from the city of Monroe north. I reside in the city of Monroe, and then you have Rockwood, Flat Rock, and Sumter Township over to the west. That being said, it's a challenge to represent constituents in two counties since the county governments are different. And I look forward to that challenge, and I think I've actually done a pretty good job with it. I pride myself in my district outreach. I think it's good to be in as many places as you can to hear the opinions of all of the people, voters, businesses, and what they think that we should be doing for them, because we do serve at the pleasure of their votes. A little bit about some of the things. I won't go into the endorsements as my seatmate Paul Clementi has gone into. He sits a little to the right of me, probably ideologically too a little bit. But although I did get, I think, all of those same endorsements except the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. So I'll work on that one maybe for my second term. We'll see how that goes. I was proud of my voting record over the last almost 2 years so far. I was one of the few legislators to actually vote 100% with the Small Business Association of Michigan. I think there were only like 7 or 8 of us. Some of my background, before I was elected for this job 2 years ago, I ran a nonprofit organization that had contracts with local governments, 2 of them, so I understand how local government works. Also, before that, I had many private sector jobs, different ones, going back to right after college up through now. So I like to say that I like to bring that experience of not actually being in government for most of my life and for as a career to kind of help and bring that expertise to the legislative process. Sometimes it's hard to work with so many people that we have to work with, but I feel that I'm a people person, especially one-on-one, and I think that's a very important piece to this job because frankly, you need to be out talking to people, understanding what their wants are and their opinions, and then also bringing that to Lansing to speak to the other legislators, and then frankly to convince them that your ideas are important enough to be included in legislation and policies. So with that, as I said, I will be around afterwards for questions. I was a little bit late getting here earlier today, but I thank you all for coming, especially the sponsors, and have a good afternoon.
Final district, District 23, David Hayner.
Always have to bring water whenever I go someplace. I always end up getting parched. But I'd like to thank the Chamber for putting on this forum. It gives a great opportunity to make sure that we get to find out a little bit more about the candidates, what they stand for, what they don't stand for, what they've done and what they haven't done. I'm David Hayner, and I'm running for the 23rd State Representative, which encompasses Huron, Brownstown, Woodhaven, Trenton, Gibraltar, and Grosio. I've been a technology consultant for 20 years. I've worked here in Taylor, and while I was in Taylor, I actually was a member of the Chamber. So I've actually helped some of y'all with your computers and your websites and whatnot. Always have to make sure I'm following my notes. I've been going across the district for almost a year now. I decided to run a year ago this coming Thursday. And everyone I've talked to has complained to me about the conditions of the roads. This is something that is having a dramatic impact on our economy. I tried to get a couple of my friends to move their companies here, but nobody wants to come here because it beats up their cars. It's costing each of us $357 per year in auto repair costs. You don't see it the first year, you might not see it the second year, but you're going to see it when you have to replace your front end, your tie rod, your ball joints and whatnot. One of our big problems is overweight trucks. We've been lacking the enforcement because we took the enforcement ability away from our police departments by redirecting the funds that were going to the police departments for this for the policing to other areas. So it became a loss for them. So by them going out trying to go out and enforce us, it was actually costing us time and safety because it was pulling them away from other responsibilities. Those are the kinds of things I want to make sure we're taking care of. Education is going to be the key to our state's future here. Without a good education, our state is going nowhere. We cannot afford to be politically divisive when it comes to education policy. Charter schools when it comes to charter schools and private and for-profit education systems that are running them, there's no fiduciary responsibility to our students, it's to the shareholders, which means that the only way for them to raise profits is with either cutting costs or putting more students into the system. And that's not going to work over the long term, because once we get rid of public education and public schools, there is no bringing them back. We will be stuck with whatever we end up with when this is all done. And we can't afford to have something that says a business runs this school. You know, it should not be a race to the bottom for education funding for our kids. Our kids should not be for sale. We need to tell the rest of the country that we're open for business. Businesses are looking for good infrastructure. That means good roads. They're looking for safe streets. That means police and fire, and that's revenue sharing restoration, so that we can actually have the safe streets. They want a good education system for their workers and for their employees, because that's going to be the key. We want to make sure that we're doing something to make sure college education is affordable. I lived down in Georgia for a couple of years, and they were able to take the money from the lottery and put it on top of education funds. They broke it up into 3 parts. One part was the Hope Scholarship Fund. So if you maintained a B plus average, you went to school for free if you maintained it through college. The other part of it was went to technology grants for schools, which allowed the schools to be able to do more technology and drive better resources for them to learn. The third part of it, and it wasn't broken up in actual 3, one-third, one-third. And the other part of it was for early childhood education, because we found that every dollar we spend in early childhood education comes back to us multifold. Those are the kind of issues that we need to deal with. And that's what companies are looking for. And the last thing they're looking for is a good quality of life, just like every one of us here. That means that we need to protect our land and protect our water. Nobody wants to go into the water, either on the Huron River or down in Lake Erie and come out with a rash. And that's what's happening now. And if we don't start looking towards the future, keeping our eye out there, businesses are going to see that, and they're going to say, you know what, we're going to go someplace else. That's my plan, is to get businesses here so we can keep the residents that we've been training here in Michigan. I'm running for state representative for the 23rd district, and I'm hoping I can count on everyone here, because that's going to be vital for improving our entire state. Because when the middle class is doing well, our district does well, our state does well, and our country does well. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Now, State Representative Pat Somerville, 23rd District.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to be back. As most of you know, I'm Pat Somerville. I'm seeking my 3rd term as State Representative for the 23rd District. I put together some remarks here to avoid not only being misquoted, but I've got quite a few stats in here that I want to make sure I get just right. But it feels like it was just yesterday I was here about 4 years ago giving my first talk to this forum. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind everybody where Michigan was at just 4 years ago. In 2010, as a candidate, I saw our unemployment rate approaching 15%, a decade of over 800,000 lost jobs. State road funding appropriations amounted to a total net of $111 million during the entire 8 years of the previous administration. School funding cuts 4 times over 8 years. In fact, going back to the road funding, the final 4 years, 3 resulted in cuts. In that same 4 years, our state also implemented a job-killing tax policy and raised the personal income tax rate from 3.9% to 4.35%. A couple of my colleagues and I have introduced legislation to roll back that income tax. If it were up to me, I'd rather see Michigan move getting rid of the income tax altogether like 9 other states have done. In addition, we were the only state in the country to have lost population over the previous decade. Many of our friends, family members had to leave our state for better opportunities. That's just a short summary of what is called the lost decade. I'll be the first to say there's plenty of blame to go around. But sometimes you have to set the record straight with facts, because too often some choose political theater and rhetoric over substance. I've talked a little bit about where Michigan was. Now let me summarize the positive comeback that our state is going through right now. Our unemployment rate is its lowest since 2008. Nearly 300,000 private sector jobs have been created. We're ranked number 1 in manufacturing job creation and number 3 in high-tech job growth. In the past 24 months, Downriver has attracted almost 300 jobs at the Trenton Engine plant and a full shift in over 1,400 positions at the Ford Flat Rock Assembly plant. I reside in Huron Township, and over 900 jobs are being created with the addition of Energy Automotive and Bros Energy. In addition, Load One Logistics is expanding their company and relocating to the township, bringing an additional 170 jobs. Now, with education, which is obviously another big issue, the fiscal year 2014 school aid budget was the highest in state history, with nearly $1.2 billion in additional school aid funding since 2011. If anybody wants to take a look afterwards, we've got the charts to show the breakdown of where that money has come from and where it's going. We cut unfunded pension and healthcare liabilities by $15.6 billion. We also expanded vocational and skilled trade educational opportunities to help meet workforce demand, which is something that I talked at length last year at this forum. Certainly the roads is a big issue. If anybody's knocking on doors, they know that this is probably the number 1 issue. And some have chosen to politicize the historical winter that we had this past year. In fact, some of those people are the same individuals that voted for cuts in road funding between 2007 and 2010. But here are some of the facts. In May, the House moved a series of bills providing upwards of $500 million in additional road funding. I voted in favor of those bills. Additional road funding discussions are ongoing as I speak, and legislation for increased fines and penalties for overweight trucks, as well as required warranties on local road projects, have been moved. Under Republican leadership, $870 million of additional road and bridge funding has been realized since 2012. In contrast, between 2007 and 2010, there was an actual cut in overall revenues to road funding. I was proud to fight to secure $3 million for the Allen Road grade separation. Now, I was extremely disappointed to hear Woodhaven's application for the Tiger Grant was once again rejected. It's a shame that this particular project in this area, and most of you know where that area is, it was passed on yet again. Now I'll continue to work in Lansing as well as with local officials to ensure that we get that project across the finish line. I'd also like to work on some other areas that we know of down in the Downriver area with the same problem with trains. And I think in order for us to move forward in terms of creating Downriver as a place to do business and to free up traffic, we're going to have to solve more than just that one grade separation issue. Some additional accomplishments. We've removed over 1,900 burdensome regulations on both job creators and individuals. We've reduced Michigan's debt burden by over $20 billion for our children and grandchildren. We've balanced 4 straight budgets ahead of schedule and left ourselves with a little over $500 million in a rainy day fund. Just recently, 69% voter support. The personal property tax is being phased out and will provide the necessary revenue reimbursement to our cities and communities. Some other accomplishments I'm proud of include legislation